Alrighty, this is going to be a quick tutorial over how to set up files or how to get files for 3D printing, right? So if you get yourself a 3D printer and you're asking yourself, hey, how can I use it or how can I get the plastic parts? Well, this is going to be a quick tutorial about how to do it. So one of the most easiest way of getting a slicing software for it is the Ultimaker Cura, right? This runs all the open source. Unless your printer tells you otherwise, use something else. Use this one right here. Some people have particular other slicers they like to use. There's Purcia, there's Ultimaker, and there's Slicer. However, for this video purpose, we're going to be using Cura. It is totally free. Purcia is based off Cura too, but that one's free as well. But for this purpose, we're going to be using this bad boy. So you just come over here, press it, and download it. Since we already have it on this machine, it's just going to pop up there, and we're going to delete afterwards, right? However, I am going to show you how to go through all the process from getting it up and running. The other thing is, you could tell there's Purcia Slicer there. I do use both depending on what I'm trying to use and what I'm trying to get. Some printers work better with Purcia, other ones work better with Cura. However, for this purpose, we're going to be using Cura. We're going to, when you first start, let's see if I could start it from scratch, since it might be an updated version. And by the way, there's no editing to this, so this video is going to be completely raw. Alright, is it going to go? Alrighty, so this is going to be the startup. You hit next. If you want to read it, You're going to put yes, space required, Ultimaker. It's going to download everything. Sometimes it takes forever, and other times it doesn't. I am not going to look through this video. I'm just going to upload it. I'm going to be honest. I really hope it goes faster. Come on, you got this. You got this, boy. This is the awkward moment when it's downloading, and we're just here. However, how's your guys today? You guys could enter in the comments if you guys even bother to, or yeah, let me know what printer you guys are gonna use this for. It's almost done. Come on, you got this. And depending on your internet, it can go faster. Alright, now let's run the first one. This might be the updated version from the one that I have currently. Yeah, because I'm on 5.14. Usually, unless it's an older machine, you could go with the first one with the very, very newest update. However, because I got used to some has features, some of them don't. Sometimes you can't update your profiles, which we're going to talk over here about. However, we're going to go next. It's going to tell us what's new, tell us about everything, and it's going to be comparing it to the other ones, and we're close. However, because I already have a printer, did send some of my stuff over. However, just for the sake of everything, we're going to put add printer. It's going to be a non-Ultimaker printer, of course. Since most of you guys do have Ender 3s, we're going to be setting it up for an Ender 3. Not printed printer, yep. Then we're going to come down to Creality 3D. So then we're going to look for our Ender 3/V2. Since that's what I'm running, I'm going to pop up a photo real quick right here. Ender. If I could even type correctly. Ender 3/V2. I got mine from Micro Center because it was just cheap. And come on, got this bad boy, right? And yeah, V2. So we're gonna come back over here, double check that we got the right one, which it is. It's already gonna come with the preset of Y and bandwidth, so, and that's just gonna let the computer know like, hey, what's the measurements or the parameters of the printer. We're gonna hit next, and that's pretty much it. You have it up and running. However, I would recommend, depending on what parts you're doing, go between super or dynamic. It does require more time. If you're just drafting something really quickly, you could go with lower quality or just stick with the standard. However, because I do have a separate profile that I did upload, there's that, and it runs off the dynamic, which is 0.16 millimeters. Yes, you get a little bit more quality, but it does take in the what I seen. It's not. It's pretty much the close for the things I print. I don't need that much quality. Quality is set in here. These are just some of the features. Walls, thickness, I usually have them as 1.2, and you could even control how many walls you got, top and bottom layers. Infill, usually it's set at 15. You could go down as 10. It's not really required. And when we're talking about infill, it's just talking about, so within the box, how much plastic it's going to be using, or how much plastic it's going to be infilling the center of it. If you put 100%, it's going to be 100% solid. For structures, like structural stuff, sometimes that could be 25. But for everyday use, I usually put 10 because it doesn't help as much unless you want it to be rigid. However, one of the things that you do have to understand is when you're printing it, the layers has to bond to each other perfectly. If they don't perfectly bond to each other, you're gonna have a problem, and the plastic will break at that layer, and that means you have bad layer adhesive or layer, because you want the plastic to be rigid, not rigid, but jagged when it breaks. That meant there was a little bit of it was good printing, you could say. So I'm gonna stick with 10% in this one. Material, I am using POA. I usually run it between 200 to 215, and you could use it right here. For your materials, it lets you know. Sorry for the background. It's 4th of July. I'm recording this video mainly for a friend. She just got her 3D printer, and I want to run her through the Cura. But if it helps you, great. If you buy a brand that you actually love, some of them already have their filaments in here. I know, and there's just some here. If you want to manage more, sometimes they do let you add more stuff. Like eSun is one of the bigger ones, but you could always make your own profile. More than anything, when you're adding new filament, you could go with generic, and you just got to specify your nozzle. That is very important. I am running at 0.04 more. The stock nozzle is 0.04 on most of the Ender 3s, unless you change it. We are running to 215 Celsius. And for speeds, we could do 60. Just leave it how it is normally. If it's your first time running it, you could tell the more experience you get and the more you're using it, the more you would understand actually how to adjust your speeds for it. Then from there, everything else is the same. However, for travels, do enable retraction, because that just means every time it finishes a layer, it retracts a little bit. And that's why it says retraction at layer change. Then from there, for cooling, like for POA, enable cooling. It helps you for bridging. Bridging is when you have like a flat surface. It's going from here to here. Let's say you have a post here and a post here, and you're trying to layer it. It would help it go one side to another one. And because there's no support underneath, that's bridging. And that's why you want a cooling fan, so it could like cool it and it doesn't droop. So enable cooling, set it at 100. You could even change it like at certain speeds, like use regular speeds at that portion. Regular speeds that's set at 100. Initial fan speed we put it at 0 because you want that first layer to be hot so it could stick to the bed as much as possible. If it's set to 0, it's cool, but at the second layer, that's when the fans start kicking in. Then from there, support. So support comes down to the angles that you're talking about. Like for example, I have it set more than a 50-degree angle. It has to have support. And for myself, for what my liking is, it has to be touching a build plate. And that just means, let's say we have a pencil printing like this. It's going to be printing from the build plate up. However, if we had a pencil and a pencil right there, and you put everywhere, it would start printing on this side to fill in, and it doesn't get to the support. I do zigzags just because when you're pulling it off, I tend to see that it pulls off easier. And if you're wanting to print like a vase or a vase, and it's in vase mode, which just means it's printing super quickly, and it's like a really cool design, you just put normal. You turn it off completely. However, there are different ways to add support. There's a normal way, or the tree method. Tree method, more than anything, it starts in the base and it just spreads out like trees, right? It's really cool. But depending on what you're printing, you may not want that. I usually put a skirt around it just because it helps it stick to the plate a little bit better. But all those are things that you figure out when you're printing more on how you want to modify it. Like for certain plastics, you want a skirt or it's going to be warping. And warping means plastic that's not plastic that just adhere from the plate, and because it's hot plastic, it starts warping. It could be curving up, it could go wavy, or it could even splinter off. Experimental modes in here just lets you test out some special modes, like printing, and the experimental things let you try new things, new features that they're giving off, like fuzzy skin. It just means it leaves it pretty fuzzy. And in case you do want more information, more things, or more settings, you could always hit those the setting buttons, and they let you select everything you want. However, because most of you guys would be beginners, leave it to your basics. Get comfortable printing a lot of things and seeing how the machine reacts. Because if you're getting POA and it's warping, maybe you want to increase the bed heat, or you want to add plastic glue stick. The purple disappearing one works fantastic. So let's grab a STL file. So most of you guys won't have the ability, or probably don't have the skills yet to create things in SolidWorks, which is a CAD software, or you guys just want to print whatever's online, right? Totally understandable. So Thingiverse is something that you could use for free, but please credit the users on what you're 3D printing. And they're just cool stuff, from mods for your 3D printer to just cool random things you might want to use. And let's say, just for the sake, printing, just because this is what we're trying to do it, a Lego man. We're going to be trying to print this bad boy, right? So, and it gives us a opportunity to talk about different parts. So you will need an account to download stuff. And when you do come, you could download the whole folder when you just put up here, download all files, or you could download individual files. And you just hit download, it pops up, and because you have Cura, it automatically wants to open it up in Cura. As you could tell right here, it's loading up the application, and voila, right? It automatically puts it in there. However, in case we don't want to do it that way, we could always come in here, open file, and we could open up, let's say, a board mount. This was another thing that I 3D printed. And you can move them around depending on what plastics you're using. You could just add a bunch of parts and print them at once. However, we are talking about the left. When you click it with the right side of your mouse, you could click and hold, and that would orientate the platform for you. When you click on the left side, it moves the parts, right? And these X, Y, and Z axis, I might have them in reverse. Like for example, this is your Z axis. Will let you move it up and down depending on how you're printing it. Side to side is your red, and green is front and forward. However, you could do that with your left side of the mouse. You have your scale in case I want to make this Lego man super big. I could scale it up like no tomorrow. If I want to orientate it, like for example, let's say these holes, I want them to print slightly better. Some printers let you do a 45-degree, all the supports there, and the hole could potentially come out better. But that depends on your settings within your printer, right? However, for this sake, let's put it back to flat. So you have your reset, your flat, making sure that it lays flat on the printer, and you pick a side. Or if you want to align it somehow, some face to the board, you have that option as well. Mirror just lets you know that if you want to mirror it to one side or another, you can. And per model, so you could do support. It just goes into how you want to print it, and what type of things you want to print it with. Support blocker, that's letting it know that you don't want any support there, and depending on how you print it, it will be beneficial. Some things on Thingiverse actually say within the comic or things in detail, saying like, hey, please don't use any support filaments. In certain figurines you can't, so it's recommended you won't, and please don't do it. And other ones would say use support, and that's where you want to use it. But you could also control it over here in your support settings. However, let's get back to this Lego man. We hit slice. If you have, this is where you're gonna need your USB if your printer has it. However, because we do have an Ender 3, we need our micro USB. However, so the computer could actually read it, you need your adapter. The printer actually comes with an adapter. It's a white USB, and you place it in there, and just connect the USB to your computer, and you save. And depending on what you title the USB, it would pop up in this PC file, and you could print it there, save it there, and then from there, it lets you just put on your printer, hit start. After you level the bed, remember leveling the bed is important. You should do it every 10 prints, or anytime you see the print it's leveled. So you probably didn't see what I did, but when it says save desk, it also gave me an option to preview it, and that just lets you see everything that's going on. And on the right side, it shows you layer by layer. Like for example, because it was more than a 50-degree angle, it was doing support filament in the middle. And these yellow orange lines are your infill, and when we do 10% infill, it just means it's going to be 10% solid. And on the bottom one, it shows you how the print head is going to be moving for that layer, and you could play it and check it out depending on what part you're doing and how complex it is, you may want to check it out and analyze it. However, pretty much that's all. How to 3D print and how to get a STL file to your Cura, then change it to a G code. So STL is a point system version of your plastic piece or your CAD model, where this machine, Cura, which is your slicer, could read it and confirm every point to a G code, and that lets the printer know where to move, how much to heat up, and how fast it should be moving, and that's how it could be running it. But after you hit save to disk, you take it to your printer, put it in there, and hit print. Hopefully this video helped you guys to get a little started 3D printing your first software using the software. If you guys want more information, I can make more videos in depth about each feature and how to do complex parts. And let me know if you guys want to do more Ender 3 stuff. I might set up a video over how to level your bed and everything. Thank you. Have a nice one.